What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at Data Dash, and today is August 25th of 2017. So as you all know, if you watch my channel, you probably understand by now that I love getting feedback in the comments below on my videos and on my live streams about what coin or token I should cover next on my channel. And it's become obviously clear that with all the talk on the East and China and all these Asian countries where we see massive amounts of ICOs coming out of nowhere, there's been a serious leader that you all have begged for me to cover, and I've been kind of pushing it off, but now today I'm ready to cover it, and it is no other than QTUM. So what exactly is QTUM trying to do in the long term? What's its tech looking like? Is the team there to deliver on their promises? And what is the timeline looking like in the sense of delivering applications and updates to the QTUM blockchain? We're going to talk about so much more than just simply those items. We're going to give my opinion as well, do a little bit of technical analysis, and also I'll provide you towards some resources that can help you get a better understanding of the QTUM project. However, as always, before we start the analysis, we have to jump into the numbers. So let's go ahead and take a look at QTUM on CoinMarketCap. We can see QTUM has actually been doing very well since its ICO. If you see the market cap here is tethering a little bit under $1 billion, around 783 million. So it's definitely a well-developed cryptocurrency in the sense of valuation. And we can see the volume is there to back it up. Well over enough volume that we need to see this being treated as a real cryptocurrency. It's not susceptible to pump and dumps. This is literally a good amount of volume for the past 24 hours, and it makes me safe to either trade and invest in it. We can see that the circulating supply is at 59 million out of 100 million. Now, this is important to understand that right off the bat, the total supply is, as of now, at a max of supply of 100 million, so that total supply is the max as well. However, we have to understand about how it was distributed, and a lot with these current Chinese cryptocurrencies or ICOs over the past years, we've seen a trend where a lot of it goes towards the community, about 50%, 51% in this case for QTUM. And then we also know that in the case there's about 20% distributed towards founders and early investors, and the rest is going to be going towards upgraded projects and updates in the future that are related to increasing the QTUM blockchain for business applications. So we'll look a little bit more into that later, but definitely it's fine. It's no worry that there's a slightly shorter circulating supply comparative to the whole total supply. So just keep that in mind. And as I was saying, it's been doing great since its ICO. Its Bitcoin comparison has been relatively flat. However, the major thing that really makes it stand out is the fact that it's stayed with Bitcoin's uptrend. We can see that QTUM has definitely gained value since its ICO. So definitely a winner so far if it's been able to keep up with Bitcoin. A lot of people are curious, though, if this could go up and be a multi-billion-dollar cryptocurrency. Only time will tell, but let's go ahead and jump into the analysis. So if you want to see get a good fundamental analysis on it and really understand what it's about, maybe you can determine whether or not it will become one of those coins. So QTUM itself has a very established website, I gotta say. As I always tell you all, I love having a beautiful website when I'm looking up cryptocurrencies. It makes it easier for my job, but it also makes me know confidently that they have a serious team developing the project, and they also have, put in the effort to really make it easy for an average individual to pick it up. So you can definitely go ahead and check out their website. It's has a very interesting look to it, but it's very clear and understandable in the sense that they're trying to make blockchain ready for business. I mean, we've seen a lot of people come out and try to, really promote this whole idea of bringing decentralized applications to the workplace and bring it into a multitude of industries and provide that blockchain to be able to provide that place where people can build decentralized apps on that singular blockchain and really expand out to a multitude of industries. So they're really trying to do a lot of what Neo is trying to do and a lot of other competitors are trying to do in the sense of building decentralized apps. It's becoming a crowded space, but at the same time, you see that with these projects, even with QTUM as well, that their teams are there. And we'll talk about the team a little bit more later, but they've actually got the funding and they've got the actual effort put into actually making this a reality. So definitely a very ambitious project. But the big thing here is building decentralized applications. And the one thing that they really use as a selling point for QTUM in this case is that it's kind of a hybrid use of both Bitcoin and Ethereum technologies. They use the Bitcoin core infrastructure. We talk a lot about the UTXO model in the sense of transactions and payments. We'll dive a little bit more into that later. And then also you can see that they use the Ethereum virtual machine. So they're using parts and technologies of the two largest cryptocurrencies out there, which is pretty neat. And I love the fact that, when people build these new kind of cryptocurrency concepts, they take concepts and actual structural code from previous projects that have done successful. So I think that they're on the right direction in that sense, and building a platform that people can build decentralized apps on the blockchain for QTUM. So Really interesting stuff. Now, they've got a video here. I will tell you right off the bat, their video, as much as it's probably a good selling video, it doesn't tell you too much about what Quantum's really about. So you have to read through and really understand what they're doing. Now, as always, we always talk about smart contracts, and this really is going to be the way of the future in the sense of development. And it seems like they're trying to really build flexibility with smart contracts. However, what's really unique, and we'll talk a little bit more later on when we go down the crowd sale page, they also talked about how they're going to be building their own language for the blockchain for Quantum. So I think that that's really interesting how they're going to be building their own language to develop smart contracts more securely and build them in a probably much more speedy fashion in the sense of delivering what people generally want to develop through smart contracts. So it'll be built primarily for the Quantum blockchain, and it'll be really interesting to see how that works. But that's definitely something later down the road. As we go down the website here, mobile is a big push for Quantum. They're really trying to, kind of transfer onto developing decentralized applications that can work on mobile devices. And as you can see, again, as I was mentioning, they're talking a lot about the UTXO model, which has to do with simple payment verification in the sense of it's based basically off of how Bitcoin makes transfers with QR codes and simple address-to-address transactions. So they've got it built in there simply. They're going to be developing mobile wallets as well, and we'll check a little bit more on that in the timeline. But it seems like they've really got some long-term goals here, and their website does a really good job of really visualizing it and making it understandable for the average individual. All right, then next up we have account abstract layer, and this kind of talks, and this diagram over here makes it a little easier to understand the layers of how the Quantum framework works. And I think it's something that you want to definitely, if you're going to invest in long term, you should click on the Learn More area. It gives a better description and tries to break down a lot of technical jargon. But basically, as we stated earlier, this uses framework technology from both the Ethereum virtual machine and a lot of past cryptocurrency technologies such as Bitcoin's transaction model. So you have to look at the different layers and understand really what's happening at the core of Quantum that makes it so, I guess positive for business applications to be developed on their blockchain. So really interesting stuff. And then this is what I like too, the fact that it's cross-platform and backwards compatible. So you can read right here that it says that Quantum is compatible with existing Ethereum contracts. The fact that you have that compatibility built in from the start, that's huge. Because most smart contracts out there right now are developed on the Ethereum platform. Being able to bring those over to the Quantum platform, that's amazing. That's instantly giving people who were, planning to use the Ethereum blockchain, the fact that they can move those smart contracts over to the Quantum framework is really beneficial, especially for time efficiency. So if you want a little bit more information, as I always say, you got to research and really learn about this if you want to invest in it. If this sounds cool to you, definitely go check out the white paper that they have on here, as well as the blockchain economy white paper. These are really awesome PDFs to read through. I read through them myself a little bit to get a better understanding of Quantum. And it seems like this is a serious team that's really trying to achieve something big. So I recommend you go check those out. But speaking about a really big, good team that's getting me optimistic about the Quantum project, let's go ahead and read through the Quantum crowd sale page. We're going to go through and talk about the team. We'll talk about the crowd sale results. They were completely successful at raising what they needed to for the Quantum project. And then you can also see the timeline here. The team has set a lot of really stellar objectives over the next few months to really be achieved. So as we can see, they've already achieved some of these, seeing as these were set for June. A lot of basic things in the factors of user interface and the applications for average consumers. And they've been building the basic framework to really get going with Quantum. And the main thing I like is that they're working on smart contract interaction for wallets. So already kind of building the framework and structure for building smart contracts on the blockchain, which is really going to get people adopting the platform. The big thing I like, though, is out of all these major kind of like headlines on the timeline, I love the Quantum integration and API release. They talk about how they want to bring integration to a lot of potential platforms. The two big ones I really noticed was Kloa and also Springmail. So Kloa is going to be a release that they're bringing to the WeChat platform, which is a massive international messaging app that's used by mostly predominantly people in Asian markets. So that's good for Quantum in that sense, but it is used by people around the world. And to be able to apply a wallet to that and send transfers for the Quantum blockchain, that is fantastic in my opinion. I think that that's going to help with adoption and get the name out there, it's at least especially in the news where people start learning about it, whether it gets adopted or not. And we can also see the Springmail application, which is where it's going to be integrated on email. It really makes me optimistic to see this, and For me personally, I think that things like that really help towards tailoring adoption towards a new cryptocurrency that has bold ambitions. So lots of awesome stuff. You should read through their timeline, see the projects they're trying to build. I love the fact that they're going to be building a virtual machine implementation on the quantum network. And you can see this is the language I was talking about as well earlier, the new smart contract language with formal verification, ESML. So the fact that they're building their own language, it shows you that they're serious about this. I'm not saying it's a complete guarantee that this is going to be perfect, but it at least shows that they're trying to make their platform stand out and attract people to using their platform in the sense of efficiency and easy adoption of the platform and its language. So really awesome stuff in the sense of timeline. It's a mouthful. I couldn't go through every bit, but I recommend you go look back at it and really read up on what they're objectively trying to do. So there's a few crowd sale questions that I want to answer in the sense of supply. I know you probably were a little curious earlier. This is the same video as well that I was talking about earlier. Before we actually go into the crowd sale, I want to talk a little bit about the founders. They've got Patrick, Neil, and Jordan. So you can go ahead and read up on them. There's a lot of articles in the sense of their team, where they do a few interviews you can find online. They've got a lot of backers as well, people from a lot of large names. OKCoin, that's huge. They've got a few angel investors as well, but you can see that they have people from all over. I liked the fact they have Jeremy Gardner in there, who's the co-founder of Argar, or I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I never really looked into that one, but I know that it's in the sense of prediction markets and gambling. So I really like Jeremy as well. He's a pretty big face in the cryptocurrency market, as well as Anthony right here, who's the CEO of Jack's Wallet. So you see some big names on this, folks. This isn't just something to, kind of rub off in the sense of a team and founders. This is definitely interesting. Now, going back to what we were talking about, the supply, I really want to emphasize how everything's structured. As I said, about 50%, or in this case 51% of the tokens were distributed through the crowd sale to people who invested in the ICO. And then along with that, we can see that 20% of the tokens, a much lower number than a lot of ICOs out there, 20% were distributed among the founders, early backers, and the development team. So I think that's much more of a fair amount towards the teams who are working on this project. And if it really goes well, all to them. That's really awesome that they have a successful project like this. And then, of course, they get some more detail down here. The last part I want to talk about, though, is the quantum tokens that'll be allocated, as I was saying, for expansions of the quantum network. This could mean concerning business development, so building changes towards the framework to really build decentralized apps for a multitude of industries, adding new features to develop as well, academic research, education, and market expansion. I mean, the list could go on. But I think that's important that they're putting a fund aside to pay for those, because it's really important to keep in mind that, your technology is not perfected. You're going to need to set improvements in the future. So definitely get on their end for that sense. And they get into even more details of how they're breaking that down. So they're very transparent about how they're going to be distributing these tokens. So I like that. That's a personal benefit to me, the transparency, how clear it is. And like I said, read the white paper, folks, if you really want to invest in this, so you can get a good understanding of what they're trying to do with quantum. So last source I'm going to take you to really get some information on it. They've got a nice subreddit you can go on to learn a little bit more. If you're interested, ask a few questions. I bet people would be happy to get you involved and answer any questions or concerns that you might have about quantum. The last bit that I want to do is a technical analysis. Now, the problem is as you can see, the chart's very short. If I were to move this here, I get the big red candle that's always on Bittrex with a new ICO. Don't know why they don't fix that. But the thing about quantum is it's relatively new. This came out around the beginning/mid of July, and it is a relatively new cryptocurrency in the ICO space, especially in out of the ICOs that have come out of China. So it's definitely trying to put a run up for other cryptocurrencies' money. It's trying to really show that it can be a solid competitor in the space. The question is, though, we can't really do much technical analysis on this. So it's a question of whether or not, just from simple price action, is this at a good buy level? Well, I will tell you something. I can't apply much technical indicators to it. There's not much moving averages I can use, except for one, which I will go ahead and use. I think it's I want to make sure it's the 21 day. No, it's not the 21 day. Sorry about that. I think it was the 50 day in this case. Nope. I guess the 50 day is not on there. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up with the different coin, folks. But basically, in this sense, yeah, that was kind of going back to what I was saying earlier. There's no serious technical analysis we can do on quantum in this sense. So, in the sense of lacking indicators, what I would say is you have to think about this in a more fundamental sense. Do you think that Quantum is going to give a run for competitors' money in this framework, in this kind of industry of applying decentralized apps towards business? I honestly think that it could be a good competitor, especially at these prices. And I think that it could be a multi-billion-dollar cryptocurrency. So over the next few days, the question is, do you think it could be that? If you think so, it might be a good swing trade in my opinion. I think that the fact that it's held relatively well against its ICO valuations, especially in Bitcoin comparative, is really impressive. And seeing as we found general support around that area we opened up rather than going down here, it shows that there's some price strength confirmation, not to mention some solid volume that poured in the other day. So we might see a repeat of this uptick in price action. And hopefully, this might be able to come up and kind of fill some of this wicks that fell down yesterday during the price action. I really think you could see this touch over 400,000 Satoshis. That all depends, though, if Bitcoin's going to continue to rally like it has. But definitely like Quantum in a fundamental sense. They meet every single category in a fundamental sense. The question is, the last point is, as always, is it going to get adopted? There's so many competitors in the space of cryptocurrencies. Recognizing that, though, I think that Quantum is going to give competitors a run for their money, and I think that they've got the team and the objectives to really deliver on their promises and their target market. That all being said, I'd love to hear what you all think about Quantum. Do you think it's a long-term hold? Are you holding it yourself? Do you think that there's any positives to it? Do you think there's any flaws to it that need to be addressed? I'd love to hear it down in the comments below and get a discussion going amongst the Data Dash community. If you got a coin or token that I haven't covered on my channel and you'd like to see it, please let me know down in the comments below. But until then, I will see you all in the next video. Stay tuned.